Welcome to the Instrumentation and Measurement in PME, and today we will discuss the human body. The objectives are to be able to list the major systems of the body. Second point, know how to describe the principal functions of the body systems, and be able to describe how the body controls the regulates itself, and be able to state the relationship among body systems. So the body contains of hundreds of feedback control systems that attempts to keep the body's internal environment constant. This process is called homeostasis, and it allows the body to respond to change in the environment and to illness, as well as to accomplish the regulation of levels of sugar, salt, water, acid base balance, oxygen, carbon dioxide, and other materials that make up the living organism. Uh, for the cells, or many different type of cells are known. They differ according to the function, but they are all similar in their basic constituents. So the cell is surrounded by semi-permeable membrane. Membrane is very important um, because it controls the movement of the ions between the inside and the outside of the cell. This membrane is not only contains the substance of the cell, but also allows selective passage of materials in and out of the cell. Most of the cell, including nucleus inside the cell, separated from the surrounding cytoplasm by its own membrane. The nucleus contains the genetic coding of the reproducible cells, the DNA and the RNA, etc. Mitosis is the process by which the cell replicates its chromosomes and then segregates them, producing two identical nuclei in preparation for the cell division. In the mitosis process, there is a non-exact quantitative division of cell cytoplasm and an exact qualitative division of the nucleus materials. So in terms of quantity, the division is not exactly the same, but in terms of tasks, qualitative division of the nucleus is exactly the same. The body fluids, almost two-thirds of the fluids of the body is fluids. For example, male and female. In female, 45% of the female body is solids and 55% fluid. In the male, 40% solids and 60% fluids. The fluid is divided two-thirds intracellular or ICF fluids and one-third extracellular fluids or ECF. The ECF is further divided into 80% interstitial fluid and 20% plasma within the blood vessels. The ICF contains potassium, magnesium, and phosphate ions, while the ECF contains sodium, chloride, bicarbonate ions, oxygen, um, glucose, carbon dioxide, and many minerals and materials. In terms of system, the musculoskeletal system is formed by muscles and bones. This system provides locomotion, the ability to move around and manipulate our surroundings. Locomotion made human be able to move to avoid danger, find food, water, shelter from the elements. This is the musculoskeletal system of the human body, the frontal view and posterior view. We have muscles, for example, sternocleidomastoid, pectoralis, biceps femoris, brachioradialis, and different muscles, and the bones of the skull, for example, we have maxilla, mandible, here the clavicle, humerus, ribs, femur, patella, tibia, fibula, etc. Also the muscles of the back, trapezius, one of the big muscles, triceps, brachioradialis, deltoid, latissimus dorsi is also a big muscle here. We have the gluteus maximus, biceps femoris, hamstring, and gastrocnemius muscle. The bones, skull, the bone of the skull here, and we have this scapula, spine, humerus, pelvis, radius, ulna, femur, tibia, fibula, and calcaneus bones. Where the respiratory system takes oxygen to the body and gives off carbon dioxide waste product from the cell. The respiratory system includes the mouth, nose, trachea, bronchi, and lungs. The lungs it contains the alveolar duct, and alveolar sac, where the gas transfer take place here. So the blood vessels will give CO2 and will take O2, and the oxygen will be distributed all over the body to the cells. Um, Gastrointestinal or GIT system, the GI system takes raw materials in the form of food and liquid and processes them to be absorbed into the body. Digestion of food is the process of breaking down, liquefying, and chemical process foodstuff. The digestion process begins in the mouth, where the food material and the saliva uh, begin the chemical breakdown. In addition to the digestion, the primary function of the GI tract are absorption, excretion, and protection. Both mechanical mixing and chemical breakdown occur in the stomach. The gastric juices mix with the food material to form milky paste called chyme. The contraction or or peristaltic waves in the stomach mixes the food together with the juices and the waste product, and undigested food are expelled from the body in the form of fecal material. The nervous system, the autonomic nervous system, is responsible for regulating the autonomic function of the body, like heart beating, blood secretion, GI system, etc. The sensory nervous system receives data from the outside world and certain internal organs through cells that function as sensory receptors. The CNS, or central nervous system, gathers, assimilates, and integrates data from the outside world information on the state of the internal organs. The endocrine system is responsible for the secretion of hormones. The hormones um, are secreted by major glands in human body, like pineal gland, for example, pituitary gland, parathyroid, thyroid, thymus, uh, pancreas, kidneys, etc. The endocrine system, it controls um, the uh, the regulatory, it controls the functions of the organs in a slow way or a slow manner compared to the nervous system. So in order to compare between them, we have the nervous system and endocrine system. The nervous system fast response uses impulses, electrical impulses. Organs are the brain, spinal cord, and nerves. Use neurons and is divided into CNS and PNS, the central nervous system and peripheral nervous system. While the endocrine system is slower in response, reaction time, uses hormones to send message chemical substances. Organs are called glands, travels through the bloodstream, and hormones like adrenaline, thyroxine, insulin, testosterone, etc. They both share in these points, both react to stimuli, either from outside or inside of the body. Both help maintain homeostasis. Both are systems of the body that send messages. Hypothalamus is the link between the two systems. The circulatory system transports body fluid around the body from one organ to another, divided into blood circulatory system and lymph transport system. Oxygen blood flow in arteries to the organs, the blood flowing into the vessels of the GI tract, picking up nutrients and water. The portion of the blood that flows into the kidneys and cleaned of impurities and waste products. So the kidneys act as the blood filter. It filters the blood from the waste products and uh, help to maintain the balance of the minerals inside the human body. The blood exchanges its oxygen to the tissues and the oxygenated blood returns to the heart through the veins. The veins are divided into two major veins we have in the human body, the superior vena cava and the inferior vena cava. So the blood will exit the heart via the aorta, then renal artery, segmental artery, interlobar artery, etc. Then it goes back to the heart via uh, inferior vena cava. Inferior vena cava it's responsible for collecting the blood from the chest and upper limb and the lower limbs and abdomen, so superior vena cava from the head and neck. The body as a control system, negative feedback control system, compares actual conditions with the optimal conditions, then causes a correction that cancels part of the difference or error. This is very important process, which is the negative feedback control system in the human body. As an example, the automatic regulation of blood pressure sensors or baroreceptors and the circulatory system tell the CNS central nervous system if the pressure drops below a certain normal point, then the brain issues a command that causes the blood vessels to constrict, which brings the pressure or it will increase the blood pressure. But if the pressure increases above the normal point, then the brain causes the vessels to dilate. Dilate is the opposite process of constriction. So when the blood vessels dilate, the blood pressure will be reduced. So the heart and circulatory system, the heart has four parts, two atria, right atrium and left atrium, and two ventricles, right ventricle and left ventricle. And between them, between the right and left ventricles, there will be a valve called the tricuspid valve, and between the left atrium and right atrium, left atrium and left ventricle, there will be the mitral valve. And we have also two valves, the aortic valve at the aorta and pulmonary valve at the pulmonary artery. So the blood will return from the lungs to the heart via the pulmonary veins, this oxygenated blood, and it will enter the left ventricle. Then it will be distributed to the human body via the aorta, while the deoxygenated blood will return to the heart from the body via the superior vena cava and inferior vena cava. Then the blood will be transferred from the right atrium to the right ventricle, and then it will go via pulmonary artery to the left and right lungs. So this is the circulatory system. Cell polarization and depolarization. This is the process of changing the polarity of the cell membrane in response to a specific stimuli. The resting cell or polarized resting cell, we can see here that the cell membrane is negatively polarized inside and positively polarized outside. So when a stimulation takes place, there will be a gradual change in the polarization of the cell membrane. So it will be changed gradually, so the outside will be negatively charged compared to the inside. And the process will continue in this way till the cell membrane will be changed from the polarized resting cell to the depolarized cell, where the outside is negatively charged and the inside is positively charged. At the end of the simulation, the cell will be returned back also gradually to the original state, which is the polarized resting cell, by changing the um, polarity of the cell membrane that will be positive outside and negative inside. We can see here that in this diagram between time versus voltage, time in millisecond and voltage in millivolt, we can see this is the resting voltage. It will be minus 70 millivolts when a stimulus take place. If the stimulus were we can say high enough to cross the threshold, which is minus 55 millivolt, there will be an action potential will be generated, which is AP. The action potential is the rise of the cell membrane in the depolarization stage. This is the depolarization, where at the peak the cell membrane will be they will be positively charged to 40 millivolt. Then the repolarization state will take place in this way till reaching the resting state. So the steps are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Like here we have 1, 2, 3, and 4, and 5. Back here to number 1. This cardiac conduction, it's um, the activity of the SA node and the AV node and the movement uh, of the blood by the contraction and relaxation of the arteria and ventricles. So it starts, the SA node will generate an impulse, electrical impulse, that will cause the contraction of the left and right ventricle. So atria, sorry. So the blood will be pushed to the left and right um, ventricles, and the signal will reach the AV node. When the AV node is active, the signal will be transferred to the left and right ventricles, and the contraction will take place where the blood will be pushed via aortic artery and aortic and the pulmonary artery. So this is the cardiac cycle. Atrial contraction, the blood will be moved to the ventricles, from the atria to the ventricles, then isovolumetric contractions, both of them are contracted, then ventricular ejection, the blood will be pushed to the um, aorta and pulmonary artery. Then we have isovolumetric relaxation, followed by arterial refilling. The blood will come back to the atria from the superior vena cava, inferior vena cava via the vena cava trunk, and the pulmonary veins. And the cycle continues in this way. We have here a diagram for this one. For the pressure and volume, we have here the aortic valve open. When the aortic valve open, the pressure will be rise here, the aortic pressure, and the arterial ventricular pressure also will increase, while the arterial pressure will take this curve is for the arterial rise and goes back and rise and go. So we can see here that the arterial pressure is not changing so much compared to the ventricular pressure. The highest pressure will take place in the ventricles, both the left and right ventricles. And also the aortic pressure is changing with the change in the ventricular pressure. The change will correspond to each other because the aorta will carry the blood to the human body from the right ventricle, so that the pressure in the right ventricle very high and the pressure in the aorta is also very high. The volume also is changing from high to low here in the ventricular volume. In terms of ECG, we have the PQRST, PQRST, etc. And then it continues always PQRST while the heart is contracting and relaxing. In terms of phonograph, the sounds of the heart here by using the stethoscope, the first sound will take place during the isovolumetric contraction. The second sound will take place or it will be heard at the end of the systole during the isovolumetric relaxation also. The third sound, it's a small sound at diastole when the aortic valves closes or yes, just a small sound here will be here, this third sound. And it continues. So first, second, third, first, second, third, and it will continue uh, with the contraction of the heart. So the range of changing, we can see here that um, also in terms of valve opening and closure, the aortic valve here open at this point. Before that, the mitral valve will be closed. So there is a time gap between them, and this will let the transfer of blood from the artery to the ventricles. So this is lecture 3, and we will discuss it more when we will meet together in the online lecture, inshallah. Thank you for your time and your listening.